What does it take to become financially successful? A high-paying job? A lucky windfall? A whole lot of discipline? How about the ability and willingness to deceive your fellow man? Well, in theory, all those things can certainly help, although the deception route is obviously a real jerk way to acquire wealth, but it can technically work. Swindlers do exist after all, even if their wealth usually ends up being rather short-lived and often leads to jail time. But I'd argue that none of those things individually are actually required to build wealth. No, the only thing you really need to build wealth is a system designed to bring more money in the door than you have escaping out through it. At the end of the day, that's all it really takes. Just spend less than you make. And there are a lot of ways of going about doing this, and each has their own pros and cons. Today, we're going to discuss what is perhaps the fastest way to build wealth, and how it reveals what may just be the most underrated key to financial success. But before we get going, be sure to like this video if you haven't already, as it really does help out the channel a lot, and subscribe with notifications on for more money-related videos like this one every single week. And if you want to further support this channel, you can check out some of the links I've left in the description below, which includes a link to my Patreon page. This is the best way to show your support for this channel, and in addition to that, you can also get early access to new videos and exclusive content such as spreadsheets based off the ideas we discuss in these videos. The spreadsheets will allow you to play with your own numbers and see how big of a difference some of the ideas we discuss can make for your own personal financial situation. Author M.J. DeMarco argued in his book, The Millionaire Fastlane, that the fastest way to build wealth is through something known as the law of affection. The law of affection states that the more you can affect people's lives, either in scale or in magnitude, in an entity that you control, the richer you will become. The shorter and simpler version of that would be to say that in order to make millions, you either need to find a way to impact the lives of millions in a way that earns you a small amount of money, this would be the scale part of the law, or find a way to impact the lives of a small number of people in a way that earns you a large amount of money, which would be the magnitude approach. And you need to do that in an entity that you have control over. Probably the most common way to do this is through a business. Bill Gates is a billionaire because Windows has impacted the lives of millions of people and businesses. Jeff Bezos is a billionaire because Amazon's selection, efficiency, and convenience has impacted the lives of millions. A similar story could be told about Elon Musk, or popular entertainers, or athletes. On the magnitude side of things, there are the agents of those entertainers or athletes, or high-end real estate agents who can make millions in commissions each year by selling a handful of high-end homes to their relatively small clientele. And we could continue going down this list of the super wealthy if we wanted to, but at the end of the day, the story remains largely the same. The majority of people in that financial class got there by impacting the lives of people either in large enough quantities or in large enough ways that they accumulated a fortune. The biggest advantage to approaching wealth building this way is obvious. It's speed. Starting a business can generate a lot of money for you extremely quickly if things go really well. Think of the writer or director who knocks it out of the park with their first novel or film, or the social media creator who has a few videos go viral in their first year. They build a large audience really quickly, attract a bunch of sponsors, possibly sell some merchandise, and all the while they're raking in that sweet ad revenue. Or perhaps the real estate agent who builds a network of clients while they're working on getting their exams finished, and as a result has the ability to sell a handful of homes pretty much right off the bat, raking in tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in the process. Now, are these outcomes exactly common or likely? No, not at all. They would be the anomalies, but they do exist, and that can make this path to wealth building very tempting, especially since the potential ceiling if things go really well are so much higher than most other approaches. Take that wildly successful author for example. Say they sold 1 million copies of their book for an average of $15 a pop, and they were paid a 10% royalty on each sale. That's a cool $1.5 million in income. Or how about the real estate agent earning roughly 3% commission on the price for each sale? A sale every month translates to around $180,000 a year in income if the typical home you're selling is priced at around $500,000, which depending on your area may be really expensive or really affordable. For reference, the median single-family home price in California is about $855,000 as of November 2021, according to Zillow's estimates. Whereas in Mississippi, it's around $166,000. Keep selling those homes for 5 or 6 years and you've earned about $1 million. After a decade or so, you're likely creeping up on that $1 million net worth figure, assuming you've managed your money reasonably well. This may not sound all that impressive, but when you consider that most studies have found that it takes the average millionaire roughly 3 decades to build that kind of wealth, it puts things in perspective. Not to mention the fact that this hypothetical realtor didn't have a partner earning a second income to help speed the process up a bit. The major disadvantage to approaching building your wealth in this way is that it isn't the most reliable or replicable process. First, because not everyone is cut out for the world of business. many of us have other obligations and responsibilities that make building up a full-time business too time-consuming or risky to attempt, at least for right now. And second, because not everyone desires to live the self-employed lifestyle. Being self-employed comes with a lot of benefits. You get to set your own schedule, choose what you want to be doing every day, and possibly even choose where you want to do it. For instance, the social media creator, or any type of digital nomad for that matter, can theoretically do their job anywhere in the world, as long as they have access to the internet. But it also can be much more stressful and chaotic than a simple 9-to-5 job. After all, when you're self-employed, you're the only one that's going to give yourself direction and force yourself to do what needs to be done to make your venture successful. But even if you're willing and able to choose the path of self-employment, there's no guarantee that your venture will meet with success. According to the Small Business Administration and the Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 20 to 25% of businesses with employees fail within a year. Roughly half falter within the first 5 years, and after 10 years, only about a third are left standing. Now, granted, the decline in survival rates do flatten out a bit as the years go by, and some of these businesses close for reasons other than profitability. Perhaps the business was started as a way to earn some extra cash for some goal like paying for college, and once that goal was reached, the owner closed up shop. But in a lot of cases, it does come down to the fact that the business isn't generating enough profits to be worthwhile. And a 2 in 3 chance of failure, even after a decade of successful operation, is not exactly what you'd call reliable. This is especially noteworthy when you consider that starting a business involves the risk of losing ground relative to where you started. According to Forbes, the average business takes anywhere from 18 to 24 months to become profitable, though it can obviously vary quite a bit from business to business, and some businesses never turn a profit. Now, does that mean that nobody should start up their own businesses or side hustles? No. Of course not. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that it's important that we realistically assess the pros and cons of the different approaches to building wealth so that we can plan out a strategy that'll give us the best chance of reaching our goals, whatever those goals may be. Starting your own business can significantly raise your financial ceiling, especially if things go well. There's no doubt about that. And for some people, it can bring non-financial benefits that are well worth considering, even if the business never becomes wildly profitable. There's no doubt about that either. But it also is capable of lowering your financial floor, either due to the business failing before reaching profitability, or just not being profitable enough to keep you on track even after many years of successful operation. And putting yourself behind the 8 ball like this can be difficult to make up for, especially as you get on in years, and your time horizon as a wealth builder starts to shrink. That's why I think that reliability, or replicability, is one of the most underrated keys to financial success. You only live once after all, which I know is often used as a justification for doing exciting, but usually risky things with our money, but the phrase doesn't have to be used that way. When taken literally, you only live once can just as easily suggest that we'd better do everything within our power to ensure that our one life is as good as we can make it, because we only get one shot at it. When viewed through that lens, it's the financial floor, not the ceiling, that's important, at least to start with. So while things like budgeting, living on less than you make, working a boring but stable 9-to-5, and otherwise taking the surer road may not be the sexiest strategy out there, since they don't come with a very high financial ceiling, relatively speaking, which psychologically can make it less exciting, they do tend to produce better results when things aren't going really well. In other words, they have a higher financial floor. And that has a ton of value in a one-and-done scenario, especially early on in the financial journey. Just as a quick example, take a look at this chart. It shows the income, expense, and net worth figures by year for a hypothetical business owner and employee. For both parties, it's assumed that the net worth is invested and earning an average of 10% per year. The business owner has a significantly higher income than the employee, and is profitable for a majority of these years. But due to the fact that they also have more expenses, in the form of salaries that they pay to their employees, potential debts, as well as the opportunity costs associated with not taking as much time to focus on optimizing their budgets, since their focus is, quite understandably, on growing the business, the growth of their net worth is actually a little bit slower than the employee over time, at least in this particular hypothetical. Both the business owner and the employee are doing well financially. I mean, a 6-figure net worth in 10 years is nothing to sneeze at, and it is possible that over time the business owner would continue to grow and become more efficient, thereby allowing him to make up the ground on the employee and then some, but that isn't always guaranteed to be the case. What if the business owner had started their business shortly before a recession, and as a result was unable to become profitable quite as quickly, and was unable to get the financing he needed to stay in business? Well, he'd likely have to get a regular job after closing his doors, and things would look a bit bleaker in that case. Here's a revised chart showing that hypothetical. I've assumed that there's a 5% interest rate on the loans when the net worth is negative. As you can see, even with the optimizations to his budget over the years, the business owner in this hypothetical struggles to make nearly as much financial headway as he had in the previous scenario, let alone as much progress as the employee made by simply taking the boring, optimization-centric approach from the start. And due to the impacts of compound interest, he's going to continue to fall further and further behind the employee. Again, that doesn't mean that starting a business is a bad idea, or that nobody should do it. We just need to understand what we're getting ourselves into and be prepared for it. One way we can do that is to start by following the optimizer path to get the financial fundamentals down, as well as our financial feet underneath us, and then start up a lean side hustle that, over time, we grow into a fully fledged business. Here's a hypothetical of how that could play out. I've assumed a profit margin of 10% for the business portion of the income. For the first 5 years, things look exactly the same as it did in the previous employee scenario. But once the side hustles get started in year 6, the rate of net worth growth rises slightly. Granted, in this scenario, the income generated from the business wasn't as high as it was in the previous business scenarios, since the hypothetical business person was less focused on generating that kind of explosive growth and maximizing their financial ceiling. Instead, they were trying to keep things lean and efficient in order to more reliably make a profit. But since it was still profitable, it did help to move the needle and led to our hypothetical investor being nearly $50,000 richer by the end of the 10-year period. From here, he could, if he so chose, attempt to grow the business quicker and raise his financial ceiling since he's got the cash to manage a setback should one occur. Or he could continue with his slow and steady approach until he's reached his financial goals, whether that be to buy a house, take a dream vacation, or achieve financial independence. So there you have it. That's why I believe that reliability, or replicability, is arguably one of the most underrated keys to financial success. There are many ways to build wealth, and some have the potential to build more wealth than others if things break the right way. And it's awesome when you experience that. But at the end of the day, the thing that really matters, first and foremost, is did things go well enough for you to reach your goals? Once you've secured that, then by all means, we can safely turn our attention to raising that financial ceiling. But we don't ever want to be putting the cart before the horse. But that'll do it for me today. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button if you haven't already, subscribe, and hit that bell next to my name so you'll be notified of all my future uploads. I generally upload every single Monday, and if you have a friend that would be interested in this kind of content, be sure to share it with them. Let's really get this information out there and start our own financial revolution.